Morgoth and Mohg were omen-born, cast into the dark beneath their own capital, and still hewn into the Erdtree, still shard-bearers, and still in the official structure. Messmer has a remembrance too. It's just hewn into a different tree, in a sealed world that you weren't supposed to enter. His mother was Marika. We know that because Messmer says so himself in his dying words, with no one left to confirm or deny it. His father was almost certainly Radagon. The red hair is there, and his boss theme borrows directly from Radagon's musical motifs. From Software doesn't do that by accident. Neither of those are confirmed outright, but the implication is sitting right on the surface if you're willing to look. A malevolent snake writhed within Messmer. That was enough for Marika. So she did what she did with everything she couldn't resolve. She put it somewhere no one was supposed to look. The question isn't what Messmer did. It's what Marika knew before she sent him away. She didn't cast him out. She hid him. There's a difference, and it's worse. The serpents weren't something that happened to him. They were him, coiled inside his body, behind a sealed eye. Nobody gave it a name. He named it himself. Alone in the land of shadow, after long enough in the dark, he named it the Abyssal Serpent. That wasn't a diagnosis. That was a man naming the thing living inside him because no one else ever did. He was her son. But he was also the thing she'd built her world to forget. Before she sent him away, she tried to fix it. She placed a seal where his eye had been. It worked. That's the part that stings. She couldn't cure what was inside him. She could only contain it. Those are two different things. She had the instrument for one. Nobody had the instrument for the other. The remembrance tells you where she hid him, keeping company with the original sin. Nobody knows what that sin is, but it belonged to the Erdtree. Glimpsing it was enough to earn punishment, and that's what she put him next to. She kept him. She just didn't claim him. No great rune, no shard, no place in the succession. There's one item that complicates all of that. The blessing of Marika. The description says it was made for his sake. What it doesn't say is why she never made another. He wasn't raised as a son. He was managed as a fear that never went away. Marika didn't abandon Messmer. She gave him a purpose. That's what makes it devastating. Because there's a version of this where he looked at what she handed him and saw a gift. A reason to be the thing inside him instead of fighting it. On his mother's wishes, he made himself into a symbol of fear. The cleansing crusade was hers. He just carried it. That's not the language of a man who knew he was being discarded. That's the language of a man trying to be what his mother needed. The land of shadow wasn't empty waiting for him. It had its own civilization. The Hornsent. They were the ones who forced shamans into jars, told them it was their lot. Those shamans were Marika's people. The Hornsent was the civilization she sent him to purge. The army she gave him? Criminals, convicts, a penal battalion buried out of sight of the Erdtree. She sent her son to do her erasure and handed him prisoners to do it with. Nobody knows why she did it. Vengeance, power, or erasing the evidence of where she came from. All of it fits, none of it is proven. The mission kept him exactly where she needed him. Far away, out of sight, and busy enough not to ask questions. It looked like honor. It worked like a cage. And the cruelest part of a cage that looks like a throne room is that you don't go looking for the door. He made himself a symbol of fear for a woman who couldn't look at what she'd made. He burned a civilization for her, but she never came to see it. The land of shadow was broken, and Messmer stayed. He wasn't entirely alone, not at first. Every Fire Knight had come from Erdtree nobility, shunned and chased out of their homes for pledging allegiance to him. They gave up everything to follow him south. And what that built, the armor says it better than I can. These were the only ones who truly knew Messmer. His flames, like serpents. The painful fate that accompanied his accursed form. Closest to him was Gaius, friend and leader of his men. Also cursed from birth, not the same curse, but the same weight. Two people carrying things they didn't choose, in a place the rest of the world had agreed to ignore. Gaius died in that service. They were bound to the same forgotten place, even at the end. Then there was Black Knight Captain Hu, champion of the divine beast hunt, a man who eventually followed his father into rebellion against Messmer and was imprisoned for it. And Messmer mourned the loss of a brother in arms, not an enemy, a brother. Everyone who chose him was mortal. That's the part nobody planned for. They aged, they died, they turned, and he stayed, unchanging, in a place already built for forgetting. What that cost him, the sources don't document. What they show you is what came out the other side. Not grief, not loss. A hatred that would not be confined. Messmer had been alone in the land of shadow. Then a stranger walked in, and his first instinct was to ask his mother why. Not a battle cry, not a threat. Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light? He's not addressing the Tarnished. He's addressing Marika, out loud, in front of a stranger. Strip away the formal language, and it's the same question it's always been. Why them and not me? What makes it worse is who he's looking at. He doesn't see the Tarnished as someone bathed in grace. He calls them mongrel intruder, bereft of light, stripped of the grace of gold, graceless, lightless, someone who by the Golden Order's logic should be beneath consideration. And his mother, apparently, would sanction lordship for them anyway. That's not grace going to someone worthy. That's the bar being moved until it excludes only him. And then he said it anyway. Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death in the embrace of Messmer's flame, like someone performing authority they're not sure they still have. And underneath it, a child asking why everyone else gets chosen and he doesn't. The Tarnished didn't start a fight with a demigod. They walked into the open wound of one. Messmer came in at full force, but the Tarnished didn't go down. And that's when something shifted. He'd been carrying that seal through everything. The crusade, the silence, all of it. Whatever it meant to him, that meaning died right there. His hand came up, not to block, to claw. He tore the seal out himself. No lid and no filter. Just the thing she'd spent his entire life trying to keep down, finally out. He didn't remove the seal out of curiosity. He despised his own fire. Every version of him had hoped to be rid of it. The seal wasn't a mystery to him. It was a container for something he hated. But a lightless mongrel his mother apparently valued over him was the thing that finally broke it. Being unmade by that was worse than becoming what he'd spent his life trying not to be. That was the last moment he was still holding anything back. In phase 2 before the end, Messmer says, "Oh mother, forgive me." He's not talking to the Tarnished. He's talking to her. For what? For becoming what she was afraid of? We don't know. But he reached for her one last time. And then came the last words. Mother, Marika, a curse upon thee. Not a prayer or a question. He'd already asked the question at the start of this fight and gotten his answer. This was something else. The last thing a son says when he's done waiting. The land of shadow went quiet. No curse left to speak. Just the ash and the silence and a son who never made it home. He's there if you look. Marika was counting on you not to.